Hey, what's up you guys? It's Nas here. Today I'm going to be talking about the 5 biggest money mistakes people make in their 20s and how you can avoid them. And if you're not yet in your 20s, still watch this video till the end and smash that like button to see how you could avoid these disastrous money mistakes. So without further ado, let's get started. Hey guys, for those of you that are new here, my name is Nas and welcome to my channel where we talk about all things related to money, business, and personal finance every Tuesdays and Thursdays. If you enjoy content like that, please do smash the like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. So here's number one, and this is probably the biggest money mistake I see a lot of people making in their 20s, and that's getting into a substantial amount of student loan debt. And right now, honestly, this is like a crazy epidemic, and I simply don't understand it. A recent study actually determined that the average student loan balance for the class of 2016 was $37,172. I mean, this absolutely makes no sense to me, and what's even worse is that it's projected that the outstanding student loan balance is going to reach $2 trillion by the end of year 2022. Come on, you guys, that's absolutely ridiculous, because the end result of this is that you're going to graduate from college with a shiny new degree. That's true, but you're going to be owing nearly an average annual US salary as debt instead of beginning your career and investing as early as you can. Your priorities then kind of turn into how you can pay off the substantial student loan debt before it eats you alive. The amount of time and money it's going to take to pay off that student loan balance while simultaneously starting your career out at the lower end of the pay grade, that's going to set you back decades in terms of building your wealth. Now, I understand that college is expensive, but it's really important to understand a few things. The first being, what do you want to do with your life, and does that require a college degree? If the answer to that is no, then you may want to reconsider going to college, especially if you're going to end up racking up a ton of student debt in the process. And if it doesn't require a college degree at all, is it really worth to take out a ton of student loan debt in order to achieve that degree? If the answer is no, then reconsider going to college in the first place, or take the first 2 years in a community college and then just transfer to a full-blown college to get your final degree. That's just going to save you a lot of money in the process. And if you answered yes to any of the previous questions, then I assume a college degree is required. Just make sure that you have a high-paying job or some sort of marketable skill that you can use by the time you graduate. Come to think about it, many of the wealthiest people in the world are college dropouts. Reality is that in terms of education, as long as you have the self-discipline to actually go and apply yourself, you can pretty much learn everything you need to know on the internet and by watching YouTube videos. Now, I also totally get that this isn't for everybody, and if there are some people out there that simply prefer a steady paycheck of having a 9-to-5, and for them having a college degree is simply a means to an end, if that's the case, just go to a community college for the first 2 years and save that money. Honestly, it makes absolutely no difference. I've seen so many of my friends go down this route and save a ton of money by the time they graduate and transfer. It makes absolutely no difference whatsoever except to their bank account, which is a lot bigger than those who took out substantial student loan debt to pay for a more expensive school. So save that money, go to a community college, or just reconsider college altogether if you don't really need to go. Okay, so now for number 2, the second biggest mistake people make in their 20s is waiting to invest. The reason for this is that one of the biggest advantages that you have in your 20s is the power of time and the power of compounding on your side. You see, not only can you withstand any short-term market fluctuations in price, but you actually have the advantage of what's called compound interest. This is because the money that you invest gives you back interest, but when you reinvest that interest, it gives you more interest, which in turn gives you more interest, and then pretty soon you achieve a millionaire status. I've actually done a video like this explaining the power of compounding and investing early enough, and if you want to learn more on that, do check out this video. I'll link right up here, and I'll leave a link to it in the description box below. Now consider this: if you invest $100 every single month beginning at the age of 20 at an average rate of return of, let's say, 8%, by the time you're 65 years old, you're gonna have about $504,000 invested. But if you think that, why should I start investing my money so young? I want to enjoy my life, I can start investing 5 years from now. Well then, assuming that you start investing $100 a month starting at the age of 25 instead of at the age of 20, by the time you're 65, you're only going to have invested about $337,000. Now that's $167,000 difference just by waiting 5 years. That means that the $6,000 that you invest between the ages of 20 and 25 turn into $167,000 amount later in life. That is huge. That is why the money that you invest in your 20s is arguably the most important money that you're ever going to have in your entire life. You basically get 40 years to have your investments grow into something massive simply because you have the advantage of time working on your side. Every year that goes by right now that you don't invest is another year where you're not going to be seeing some insane growth 30 or 40 years from now. You may think that your money might not be worth a lot right now, but trust me on this one, by the time you're ready to retire and golf on the beach somewhere in your Ferrari, you're going to be thanking yourself for saving and investing in your 20s. That brings me to the third biggest mistake mistake you can make in your 20s, and that's buying an expensive car. Now, this is a tough one for me personally because I love cars. I get the fun and I totally understand it. Between the ages of 24 to 28, I went and bought 8 different cars over that period of time, some of which were high-end performance cars with a lot of high maintenance costs. I absolutely love those cars that I've owned during that time. It's given me so much joy and so much experience. It was some of the best money that I've ever spent. But you really need to understand what this is really going to cost you and the reasons you're buying it and how this might end up setting you back. I've seen a lot of high school friends of mine buy $50,000 cars on a $40,000 salary. Meanwhile, they're living with 6 roommates, barely scraping by and wondering why they're always broke. But hey, you know what? They got a sexy car. And sure, they may look cool driving around in that car, but let's be real here. Most of the attention they're going to end up getting in a cool car is usually just from other guys. Nothing wrong with that, of course, but if your goal is to try to look cool in front of the girls, a car is probably one of the worst things you could do. Most women don't even care about how loud your car is, what it looks like, or how fast it goes 0 to 60. And if anything, it could actually work against you because all of a sudden it starts seeming like you could be trying too hard, or maybe you're trying to compensate for something else. So anyway, assuming that you're a car enthusiast in your 20s and it's just a fun hobby for you, there's nothing wrong with getting a car as long as you can afford it. Ideally, you want it to be less than 10% of your take-home salary that goes towards car payments, insurance, and all things car related. Now, the fourth biggest mistake is renting an expensive apartment in your 20s. Just like the third example, I've unfortunately seen this happen way too many times, where someone gets a great job right out of college, or maybe they just start making some decent money, and then they just go ahead and proceed to spend half their paycheck on this really cool luxury apartment. And usually where they live never really even matters because they're never home in the first place, because they're always at work to pay for that apartment so they can go home and sleep and then do the entire thing all over again to pay for the apartment that's way too expensive. So here's what I'm getting at. Renting a place is awesome, especially if it enables you to save money and invest elsewhere. You should also live somewhere that you're happy with, right? But throwing a ton of money on an expensive, cool luxury apartment in your 20s is just a waste. I mean, when you're 20 years old, people don't really expect you to live a life of luxury. They expect you to live on a futon in your friend's garage because it's cheap and you're still saving up. Now is really the time when you can actually get away with living like this. You could really save and invest the difference while it's still socially acceptable. Just think about this for a second. You're living on your friend's couch paying $200 a month and no one bats an eye because you're only 21 years old. But try doing that when you're 43. It's not really a good image and everyone's gonna lose their mind. So you may as well just get away with everything while you still can for the sake of saving money and investing for your future instead. An expensive apartment in your 20s is simply gonna take away from the lifestyle that you could have later on in life when it does really matter the most. The more money you save here, the more money you get to have elsewhere. Just think about it for a second. If you save up enough money, you're gonna have enough to start that business that you've always wanted to. You're not gonna have to worry about quitting the job that you absolutely hate because you needed to pay the bills. This is why it's so important that in your 20s is the time where you get to live cheaply without the fear of any repercussions of whether or not it's socially acceptable, because people don't really expect you to have anything to begin with. Okay, now for number 5, and this is probably one of the biggest mistakes people make in their 20s, and it's where most people just entirely screw up. It's by not keeping a budget or tracking their expenses. Most of the people I know in their 20s, I would say probably less than 10% of them have any form of budget whatsoever, and fewer of them actually go a step further to actually track their finances, and the rest might have a vague idea of where their money is going and how much it is that's in their account at any given time, but for the most part, they just don't even pay attention to it. One of the best things that you can do when it comes to saving and investing is really making the most of your time in your 20s to have a ton of money later on in life, and budgeting is really the best way to go about it, tracking everywhere that your money goes and everything that you spend on. I can't stress how important this is, and if you need any more reasons why you need to budget, check out this video I have linked right up here that I've done, and it explains 7 reasons why everyone needs a budget. I'll leave a link to these in the description box below as well. Now, there's a saying out there that says what you measure improves, and it might sound a little cliche, but it's absolutely true. To do this, just go ahead and sign up on mint.com or youneedabudget.com. Both of these are great resources to use just so you can type in your information and all of your accounts will show up. It's amazing, and I use it myself for 3+ years now. If you actually go ahead and do this, you're probably going to be ahead of the curve by 99.9%. For those of you who've never actually kept a live budget before, it really doesn't take that much time to do. I mean, realistically, it might spend about 5 to 10 minutes a week just looking through mint.com and just checking that everything's in there. I mean, that's less time than it takes for you to watch one of my videos and hitting that like button. That's how easy this is, and by actually going ahead and doing this, you're gonna have realistic expectations of how much money do you really need, how much do you actually end up spending, what you don't need to spend your money on, and where you can start cutting back and expanding as needed based on your current spending habits. Most people will be shocked at how small amounts of $3 to $5 spent on a day-to-day basis just add up over a long period of time. With that said, you guys, those are the 5 biggest money mistakes that people make in their 20s and how you could go ahead and avoid them. If you guys enjoy videos like this, please make sure before you click out of this to smash that subscribe button and smash that notification bell so YouTube notifies you every time I upload videos like this. I post every Tuesdays and Thursdays on all things related to money, business, and personal finance. Thank you again so much for watching. Your support is so very appreciated. I'll see you in the next one.